How did Becca Holmes go from dreaming of being a Broadway star to growing avocados? Find out next on Food, Flowers, and Fun. If you're the woman who does it all, farm work, housework, bookwork, homework, getting up at the break of dawn, this is the podcast for you.
How do you multiply by fractions now?
Get away from the cares of the day. Free stock, root stock, feed stock, seed stock. Chat with women around the world who raise food, flowers, and fun. With your host, Kay Castrataro. That's me. Welcome back to Food, Flowers, and Fun. I am your host, Kay Castrataro, and we are sponsored, as always, by Penlight for Farmers, helping you to create purposeful farm lives rich in time, energy, and abundance. And today, I have my amazing guest, Becca Holmes. She is from Holmes Grown USA. She is an avocado grower. She's got an amazing family story, and I just can't wait to get into it. So, Becca, welcome. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about it. I just want to talk about what we're doing. And you're the first I've done podcasts before for other things in the past, but you're the first podcast I've done for the avocado farming. So I'm really excited.
Yay. I love being people's first for anything. I just feel like that's really exciting. So yay for us. So tell us, Becca, how did you get into this lovely avocado growing world, which I just think is fascinating?
It is kind of fascinating, and it's if you're in Southern California, which is where we are, we're in San Diego County, it's kind of a local thing. Like everybody kind of knows an avocado farmer or their neighbor's mom, sister, that kind of thing. Or a lot of people have an avocado tree in their backyards. But if you're outside of San Diego County, all you know is I go to the store and get my avocados, right? So it's kind of a niche, unique farming world, I think, because they don't grow everywhere. So this is a very unique, we have like microclimates in San Diego where they can grow. And there are certain types of avocados that can grow in Florida, but they're totally different. That's not the kind you're getting in the grocery store. But those are the only two places that I know of in the US that avocados are growing en masse, So yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. And it's a sad story because my mother-in-law passed away a little over a year ago, almost a year and a half ago now. And she and her husband, my husband's parents, had it was like their avocado farm was kind of like their side hustle. They were both in the Navy. So she was a Navy captain and he was a Navy commander. So it was kind of their side hustle, and they, just had it on the side, and it did well for a little while. It paid for Kirk's college, a little bit of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had it since the 70s.
Wow.
And the family story gets even more interesting. But basically, after she passed away, we were down here taking care of her, and we kind of just never left. We were dealing with, my husband works from home, so we were dealing with the funeral and everything. And we kind of looked around and we're like, wow, like this is the house that he grew up in. There's land here. His dad built part of this house. These avocados have been in the family for 50 years. Like, I'm kind of a crunchy mom. Like, I'm super into like raising my kids in nature and feeding them real food. And is this an opportunity? Like, should we stay? And so we decided to stay.
And it is interesting. I tend to just jump in and interrupt, but I do find it interesting that, the place that we end up is so very often not at all the place that we intended to get to. Like when we're younger, I know that I, for one, was like, I am leaving the farm. I am getting out. I mean, I was going to be a Broadway singer. Like I had a whole life plan that was not on the farm. And here I am doing this. And I think that there is something about that lure of our roots that as we start to age and we start to see changes coming around us and we start to unfortunately lose the generation behind us, that desire to kind of keep that history alive and have something to pass on. I think that's a very powerful driver for us. And we often just don't even know it's there until all of a sudden one day, you're there helping to take care of somebody, and then you're like, oh, I'm not sure we want to do the next step of selling the property and, putting people in nursing homes or doing any of those particular things. It's like, maybe we want to stay here. So yeah, I think that's a very common realization.
Now that resonates. But first of all, I just have to say, I was also going to be a Broadway singer. I think I can't believe that didn't come up yet. My bachelor's degree is in theater.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I started doing theater in like middle school, and that was my thing. I was going to do that, but I had a very wise acting teacher. I promise we'll talk about farming again, but this
No,
is just funny.
it's no, this is what we do
It's
here.
part of the
We're
story,
whole
right? Yeah.
people. We're not just
Yeah.
farmers, we're whole
I love
people.
that. And I'm still creative, which is, and that will tie into what we're doing with the farm, but I'll get there. Yeah. So, but I had one wise teacher who said, this is a passion thing. If you can be happy doing anything else, explore it. But if you will die without creating like art with your voice and your body and whatever, then do it, but it will be hard. And so I know a few people from college who are like, this is what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
they're still doing it. And I saw someone I went to college with on like a Diet Coke commercial one time. I was like, oh, I've seen people on like on some TV shows, but for me, it was like, no, I'm a multi-passionate person. Like
Well,
since
that's
then, I've had done so many things, and
I was
so
a vocal
it's
performance
okay.
major for 2 years in college, and I
Mm.
started to not like singing because I got
Oh,
so obsessed with like was I doing it right and all the things I was doing wrong. And so instead of just being able to love the singing, which is what I've always loved doing, I was becoming so critical of myself all the time that the fun was going out of it. I was like, I'm either going to have to change majors or I'm going to stop enjoying this. And I think this is one of those things where you're talking about a passion project. There are things that we love to do as a hobby and they nurture our souls. But if we put the effort and the focus on them that they need to be able to be a profession, it takes some of the joy away. And
oh
you
yes,
don't ever want to do that. Whereas I went to English and writing and I can write and revise and revise and revise and I never lose the joy in that. So it's just that thing like I love the two things, but I love them differently. So
yeah. My
yeah, and I
husband and I
do
were
tend
talking
to
about
attract a
this.
lot of artists. I don't know how that
That's
happens. Like they
funny.
just show up
That
and
makes
then it's
sense.
like, oh, I'm an artist. Oh, I'm a writer. Oh, I'm a journalist. Oh, I'm a singer. And I'm like, how does that happen? But anyway, I think
I
there's just an
love that.
energy. So,
Yeah, there is. I like what you're talking about because Kirk and I talked about this just last week. We talk about it a lot, our passions and our likes and the difference between the two. And
mm,
so coming back to what you're talking about with the roots, like I was I was like, okay, I have a lot of likes. I like lifting weights. I like doing yoga. I like health and fitness, and I'm a yoga teacher also, currently not teaching because I've got young kids, but I did teach for quite a few years. And now I'm like, maybe I want to be a trainer. And I've realized that that is a like underneath an umbrella of passion. And the passion is health and wellness. And the
mm,
passion for me lies in it really starts with food
yeah.
and family because I'm an army brat myself. So my husband and I are both military brats. I moved every 2 years growing up. I don't
Yeah.
have a hometown. My parents didn't land somewhere. Kirk was raised in this house because his parents were older and they had retired. So they were done with their careers and he grew up in this house from the age of 4.
Yeah.
And my parents, we were moving every 1 to 2 years because the army, they move more often than the Navy anyway.
Right.
So
Yep.
I think I went to 9 schools in my 12 years of like schooling,
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
it was tough in high school because I left a boyfriend, and that, of course, is always hard. But up until then, it's just the life I knew. But what I don't think I realized is that my body, my nervous system, everything always felt so unrooted and
Yeah.
ungrounded. And so I've been landing here and my parents visit all the time. We see them all the time, of course, but it's just different because they retired in a place that's not my hometown. It's just, it's where
Right.
it was their last duty station and they retired there. But this is my husband's like home, and it's his family and the legacy we learned. It goes all the way back to 1925. So the land we have our avocados has been in the family since 1925, and there have been avocados planted on there since 1976, I think 74, 76. I have to double check. But that legacy of like rootedness of like
Yeah.
an American family farm for multiple generations, like even though it's not my blood, it's my husband and
Yeah.
now it's my children, it's my family. So it just felt right to land here. And it's funny because it's been very unsettling and very unsafe and ungrounded feeling because I'm not used to it yet. Because it's like the idea of, okay, I am going to stay here forever. It's been I've had my personal health journey too, which is
Well,
why.
I feel like that's so important, Becca, what you're talking about, because my sister and I were talking about attachment the other day. We just had a death in the family, so we had a
Mhm.
a funeral for my great uncle yesterday, and so she and I were talking about attachment and moving and loss and like just all of these things that go along with attachment to each other and how it's so interesting how moving frequently, especially as a child, does kind of disrupt that natural attachment building, because even though you have your nuclear family together, you build these relationships and then they get taken away, and you build them again and you take them away, and each time you build a relationship and then you get taken away from it, especially if there isn't like a good process for transitioning in and out of that, it makes relationships feel unsafe. It makes
Mm.
getting connected to a place feel unsafe because you're waiting for it to be taken away the next time. And it's like, how much can I
Yeah.
sit here? And so I'm really hearing that whole idea of getting rooted actually feels unsafe for a person
Yeah.
who has been unrooted for so long. Like that constant flux becomes normal. And even though our bodies are not designed to live like that, like our bodies really do need a sense of place and rootedness in some way, that we might reject that even when it's
I
a
know.
safe thing for us. And
Yeah.
wow, like that, I mean, we could we could deep
I
dive
mean, look,
into
we could deep dive
days.
on a lot of stuff for sure. Yeah. No, I just saw a post that said, it said, my body is trying to settle into an unfamiliar heaven instead of a familiar hell. And
Yeah.
that's how I have felt in my adulthood. Excuse me. So the transition of being able to go, okay, I'm going to be able to create a sense of rootedness, groundedness, health, nature, all the things I want for my kids by moving here and taking over the avocado farm, even though it's very unsettling for me. Well, I'm a grown up, I have tools. Like I'll work through it. You know what I mean? I'm healing. It's okay. But my kids are going to have this. And I mean, I had a great childhood, but like you said, it's like
Right.
I had my nuclear family. We're still very close, but it's just different from having a hometown and a place. And my kids are going to have that, and it's rooted in so much history. Like they talk about, like, oh, that's where Oma used to sit in her chair, and
Yeah.
these things. Like there are certain things, of course, that we'll keep, and then we've integrated our stuff as well. And um
Yeah,
yeah,
and
so
I just want
it's
to
just
say,
really
like, there's a plus
special.
and a negative to both sides of that. So, like, the positive to moving around a lot and experiencing a lot of different places and people is that you learn, I think, you learn to become much more open. You learn to
Yeah, you're really
find our
resilient.
similarities more than our differences, but also
Hmm.
to appreciate the differences that we have. Like, I mean, I think about just different parts of the country, and you were talking about having an avocado tree in your backyard. And I remember on spring break, I used to travel with our choir for college, and we went down to Florida and we did a whole bunch of touring down there. And we stayed at this place that had an orange tree in their backyard. And I grew up on an apple orchard. So apple trees, peach trees, like that was my normal. We had a cherry tree in our farm. Like that seemed normal, but an orange tree, I was like, this is the weirdest thing. And then there were geckos like just hanging out on the walls everywhere. And I'm like, these cool lizards are like in the house and nobody is thinking anything of them. Like they're just there. They're part of the scenery. Like we would look at a fly. And there's something really cool about just being able to go and experience the differences and being like, wow, people live differently, and yet this is their home. They're out still picking fresh vegetables, or fruits in this case, but they're looking at their native wildlife. Like it's the same and it's different. And so I think that traveling can give you that perspective, whereas the staying in one place does give you that sense of permanence and connectedness with your own history and your own family. So yeah,
Yeah,
super, super interesting.
that's going to be the interesting difference of seeing what kind of childhood my kids have. And if because I mean, also because I was so moving all the time and everything, I was ready to like leave just like fly out of the nest, right? So as soon as I graduated high school, I went to a college in a different city. And like I've looked at it, my mom and I have discussed this. We've never again lived in the same city or even really the same coast since I was 18. So
Wow.
because we're so resilient, and my brother's in the army, he's in Germany right now. So my
Yeah,
kids,
just
they might
very
want to stay
independent.
home. I don't know, it might be totally different. So it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting.
Well, my daughter, no, my kids are 12 and 14. My daughter and my son will sometimes say, Mom, we have a rental in the front. It's a very small little rental house. And they'll be like, Mom, we're gonna rent the rental for the rest of our lives and we're gonna just live with you. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Great. It's funny
I'm
because
like,
that's
I
another.
love you very much. And
Go.
really grateful that they like me enough to even at 12 and 14 be like, hey, I could see myself living with mom. But I'm like, no, like I'm going to push you out to go see other things because you need to live.
Yeah.
Like you
Gotta
need to live
experience
on your
it.
own, experience things and not just like if you come back, that's fine. You will
Yeah.
always have a home, but like go do your thing. Like, you know, figure it out, figure yourself out apart from this place because our sense of place can also be very limiting. Like it can become a box that you're put in as a child and you're not allowed to grow out of it. And so I really think it's important for people to be out on their own, far from their family of origin for at least a short period of time, you know, even if it's just college or something, but go away, figure out who you are because who you are is
Mm.
not quite who you think you are in your immediate family. There's more to you, more to
Yeah.
unfold, more to discover and give yourself the freedom to do that. So, whew, so all of this from an avocado farm. I just love it. So, so you guys decided you're gonna root, you're gonna hang out on the family farm. And what has that been like for you? What does your avocado business look like? I know you were talking water
Yeah.
is a huge issue,
Oh my
and
God.
we've all
Yeah.
heard about almonds and avocados. I don't hear about quite on the same as like almonds are the highest water crop used and all this stuff and water is tough in California. Like it's
Tough is
hard.
an understatement for sure.
Talk
But let me,
about some of that.
I'll back it up and I'll paint a little picture. So the, we live on a property in Escondido, California, which is about 30 minutes north of downtown San Diego. And on this property, we have about 30 avocado trees, and we've got plans to, a couple might be coming down because they're old mamas, but we're going to put a bunch more in. We'll probably have 50 to 70 trees on this property alone. And then the actual grove is about 20 miles away. So, and I don't know about other let's say like tree farmers, for example, but like an avocado tree, an orange tree, whatever. And I have a garden, so I can speak to this. They don't need nearly as much tending as something that you're growing in the ground, like, lettuce. I'm sure there are a lot of farmers that live on the farm, right? But I know a lot of people who have orchards like this, or groves, as we call avocado groves. They don't necessarily live there on
Mm.
the same grove. They might have multiple different properties in different places.
Right. Which
And
makes sense because there are certain times of the year where the investment is more like the time and energy investment is stronger.
yeah,
Like for apples, it's like during pruning and then harvest and
yeah,
frost control,
same.
depending on where you are. So I think it's
Yeah,
neat.
same
But
here.
you guys are different because you were saying that avocados always have two crops on them at the
They do.
same time. So talk to me about that
Yeah.
because that was a new
Yeah.
one to me. So share that with our farmers, what that's
Yeah.
like.
So avocados, different variety. Well, let's talk about Hass avocado. So Hass avocado is what you're seeing in the grocery store, but the original California avocado is also actually called Fuerte, and we have a couple of Fuerte trees here. So that's something that when the Fuertes, when they should be ready around November, December, January. They're like a little earlier than the Hass, but when they're ready, we'll be selling them straight from our website, and that's not something you can find in the grocery store. So that's pretty cool, and they're delicious. I love them. They're a little creamier than Hass.
Mm.
Um, but the Fuerte was the original like California avocado, and then it has a thinner skin, so it doesn't ship well. So they can break and bruise and things. So that's why eventually everything was kind of shifted over to Hass, which is what everybody's buying.
Mm.
And most of our trees on our 10 acres are also Hass. We do have Fuerte because avocados are they're cross pollinators and self pollinators, which I know there are a
Yeah.
few things that do both,
Yeah.
and they open. There's different types. There's type A trees and type B, and I always get them backwards, but you'll get the vibe. Like type A the flowers, the blossoms will open female in the morning and then open male in the afternoon, and then the type B will do the opposite. So you kind of need both for them to help pollinate each other. Otherwise, you have to rely on bees and other pollinators to do that for you. So they're just,
Interesting.
I think they're really unique in that way. And
Yeah.
then their growing season is pretty long. So the Fuerte, they can blossom. They're blossoming now. So they're blossoming in March, and the fruit can continue to grow until July of next year. So I've picked Fuerte as late as July, but the new blossoms will again be in March. So there will be big fruit ready to go, and then the tiny little baby ones ready to go. And the same thing with the hass. So all of our hass are blossoming right now. It's a little, they actually started blossoming early. We've had a heat wave, and so we've been putting out a lot of videos talking about like how we handle the heat wave and the water problems, because they're very sensitive to an early heat wave, because all the blossoms will just fall off instead of
Right.
pollinate.
Yep.
But yeah, the hass right now, I'm picking avocados that are, from last March that are ready now. So I've got big ones on the tree, and we'll keep them on there because they keep growing and the oil content gets higher. So then they get more delicious the bigger they are. But the new ones are also growing right now. So
Right.
the cycle is just a little more than a year. But also, we want the old ones to come off so the tree can give energy to the new growth too. So there's like a fine balance there.
Yeah.
Um,
So do they ever
yeah.
have like a dormant season? Like,
So, well, no,
because it doesn't
not
sound
well.
like it. It sounds like they're in the production cycle like constantly. They're
They pretty
constantly in a.
much are. Yeah.
So how
And they
long can
don't
they live? Like that seems like a really
50
stressful life
years.
for a tree.
No, they're
Wow,
resilient. They're
so
super resilient.
interesting. So
We had one of
interesting.
our most popular videos on YouTube is a tree that fell over and it continued to grow on its side, and it's like 50 years old and it still produces fruit. Like they're super resilient. Yeah.
Wow, that is
They're
so
just really
cool.
unique. They're really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, they don't ever have a full leaf drop either. They're almost kind of evergreens. So as the new growth comes in, old leaves will fall, but they don't have like a full leaf drop like a lot of trees. So they're yeah, I
They're like
call
a
them evergreens.
shark.
They're
They
not,
like
but
it's like a shark with their teeth that they're always like
yeah, it's like
constantly
they're always
losing teeth,
there.
but getting new teeth in. And I don't know why I thought about sharks,
I
but
like that
that's kind
analogy.
of like
It's
that
cool.
that just never stopping kind of thing. That's so fascinating to
But
me.
that's why they take so
Cool
much
tree.
water. Like they are thirsty girls. I
Wow.
think something like 40 acre feet a year. I always get the numbers wrong on this. This is why technically my husband's really the farmer and I'm more of like the marketer behind it, but I'm learning alongside with him because I love it. But let's talk about the water for a second. You brought that up. So
Yeah.
the water, we went viral on X earlier this year. Someone on TikTok shared our video to X and it had 1.6 million views, which is insane for us because we
That's
have yeah, we
impressive
have
for
like
anybody.
500, 2,000 followers like here and there. We're like we're not in a hurry. Like we're going to be here forever doing this, so we're not in a hurry to go viral or whatever. We
Right.
also can't handle it. We can only handle so many orders per week right now, but this one went viral, so we had hundreds of comments. We're replying to them all, and the video was about how much money we lost last year. So the whole operation was negative $30,000 last year,
Mm.
and we spent 37,000 in water. So if our water wasn't so astronomically high, we
You'd
actually
have
would have
been in the
broken even
black.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the water prices, and I confirmed these numbers because we talked about it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So the average price per acre foot of water in like middle America farmland is about 67, 70, let's say 65 to $75 per acre foot. In the middle of California, up north from us, and like the breadbasket where they grow all the almonds and everything like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it's 300 to $500 per acre foot. And down here in San Diego County, it's even higher than I double checked. It's even higher than I told you. It's about $1,700 per acre foot.
$1,700 per acre foot just for the water.
So it is literally 17 times more expensive for water than most of America. And we get an agricultural rate. So even with that, I think it's 15 times more
And I
expensive.
wonder how much of that is because of the use of like city municipal water versus like well water. Because I'm thinking about like I live in an area I've always had a well. Knock on wood.
Yeah, we're obviously
We've
gonna
always had
we're gonna be
wells.
getting one.
So
Yeah.
well, and that was one of my questions too, because I know that with water being so carefully rationed in California, like that's one of the things that I grew up hearing about how hard it was to farm anything in California was because of the rationing of water. Do they have restrictions on your wells? Like once you have a well, can you
No,
get from it as
well,
much as you
it's
want? Do they have like I
yeah,
don't know. I don't even know how this works, but I figured I'd ask because it's a big issue. Water rights is a huge issue for farmers because some
yeah.
places are trying to say that you don't own the water under your land, like the water under your land belongs to the state, whereas farmers are
Mm.
like, no, whatever's under our feet, it's kind of like if you run into oil under your feet, that's your oil.
Right, right.
It's not the state's oil, theoretically. So,
No
I'm
limits on wells that
curious.
I know of because we're planning. We already had a well scanner come out, and then Kirk's been talking, getting different quotes. We're going to put well one or two up at the 10-acre grove,
Good.
and we're actually planning. We're replanting 4 of the 10 acres in a high density planting, so there'll be like 4 times as many trees as there are now. So we're upping our
Right.
yield, lowering our water costs. Like that's the other thing. Like his parents were older and his mom, she could have sold the land, whatever. She kept it going, but she wasn't doing anything with it. She was just losing money every year and she didn't really notice or didn't really care. And Kirk actually took over the finances a couple of years ago as she was aging. And it was like, dude, mom, you're losing money every year. Like, but you can
But
carry
she
over
could
your
afford
losses
it.
as a
Like in
farmer.
some
Well, she
way,
could afford it and
in
it's
some
kind of
way
a
she could
tax break.
afford it. And there are a lot of people who do that with their farming operations because, they came into farming from a first career, I
Yeah.
guess. Farming would be their hobby in some ways. And
Yeah.
so they
Well,
just figure they're spending money on their hobby. But
yeah, and my husband is actually a finance major, and he's super into like he's always in the stock market doing things and
losing
playing,
money is not
and
going to work for him.
it's not going to work. But if he can save on taxes, he will, and you can carry over your losses in the agricultural industry. You
Right.
can carry them over every year, and you can't do that in other industries. It's like, why do you think big rich people are buying farmland? That's the one controversial thing I'm going to say. That's one reason because they can carry over their losses anyway.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no, we could go many places into
right.
all of the loopholes in our system that makes it so that, and this is one that actually directly affects farmers because it also increases the price of farmland. It
Yeah.
reduces the amount of available land for farmers who actually are primarily farmers and not something else looking for a tax write-off. And I mean, there are
Well,
many,
and
many issues we could all discuss,
yeah.
many issues.
So
Just
here's the
to
water
say,
thing here,
just to
though.
say that there are lots of issues to discuss.
Oh, there's lots. Yeah. Well, and we could probably have multiple episodes.
Oh,
The
I say that with everybody. I'm like, oh
I'm
man, we
sure.
could just talk
Yeah.
for hours.
So the water thing here, I should have confirmed this with Kirk because it is confusing to me, this part. It's just as confusing as when he starts talking about irrigation. I'm like, bro, I understand the seeds and the pollination. I'll grow a garden, but the irrigation, when you start talking about pressure and stuff, I'm like, that's too much
Oh, yep,
science for me.
yep, yep.
But so the water thing, I guess, the water district that we're part of down here in San Diego County, what they do is they buy all this water. It's like it's some red tape, you know,
Yep.
political crap that like happened where they bought up all this water and that's the deal that they have with where they're getting the water from, and then they have to sell it in order to make their money back. So but they're always buying too much water, and so then they just continue to up the price to make their money back. So instead of buying the water as they need it, they buy it in advance. And so then they have to keep upcharging everyone to make their money. So it's like a
It's
deal
like
gone bad,
a
makes it
commodities.
expensive. Yeah. Well, and it's not just for like this is just people living here. Like water's expensive for everyone. Like we had our neighbor just tell us she had about 30 square feet of grass and she's like, that was too, or no, she had some grass and said it was $30 a month to water it. So she's like, I got rid of it and just did, like people will do their water math and be like, it's not worth it to have grass. It's not worth it to do this
Yeah.
because it is that expensive. And so the point that you were just making, it's like, it's a side thing. It's a whatever. Again, I came from military background. Like all my family was military. Kirk's family was military. Obviously his parents started this farming thing as a side thing.
Hmm.
I don't know a single avocado farmer here that is their only source of income.
Right.
Not a single one. And we talked about that a bit too, but it's like
Yeah.
what farmers are making it on just growing the food these days? They're not. They're irrigation consultants, or they started the well company, or like they have a nursery, like something
Or
adjacent,
or
that
an
but
IT job. I mean, I've
that's
met
yeah.
more people who are in IT and then they're farming, like just you have, or you're a teacher or you're a writer or you're like they have all these other jobs that they do, or I've got some clients who work multiple farms plus do some other side hustles because they're very diverse and that's what works for them. So I definitely don't think that there's one right way to farm or one real
Sure.
way to farm. Like
Right.
I'm trying to definitely move away from that framework because I think it's an unhelpful framework, first of all. I think it pits people against each other, like the real
Yeah.
farmers against the play
Yeah.
farmers. And so even with those farmers that we're talking about who are, the multi-million dollar billionaires, whatever, who are, using their farms as their tax write-off, like I
Like
will take it.
you're
I
still
will
buying
take
their
a
lemons
deep
in the
breath and
store.
say, if you're still producing food or flowers or agritourism, you are still in agriculture. So I might not like the whole system, but that's okay. Like we still need all of these people growing food and flowers and agritourism. So we need all of
Yeah.
those things, food, flowers, and fun. We need it. Um,
I love that.
so yes, and to say that there are better and worse ways to do it. So like I
Well,
think
that's the next important thing that we're doing is like, okay, so you can get, everyone's seen this like, avocados from Mexico and they have like a jingle now.
I
Well,
do.
I know. We have organizations here that shall not be named that are supposed like that we pay them a percentage of all of our revenue goes to them. It's the state law and they are supposed to help market like, oh, avocados, California avocados. I'm like, where's the California avocado commercial? Because I'm seeing avocados from Mexico everywhere. Like
Right?
it's not helpful, it's not working anymore. And so, I've been thinking a lot about since we moved here and also just since I had kids. I've been down the food rabbit hole honestly for about 15 years and I have it's actually really sad when I think about this and I talk about it this way, but just being a person who's interested in health, all you got to do is do your own research and also tap into your intuition to know what's right. I know, for example, I don't need a doctor, a book, a podcast, or anything to tell me that a banana is healthier than a Pop Tart for breakfast. You know what I mean? I don't need any of that. And so
You
people who are like,
don't.
well,
Why
crazy.
not?
But this is the kind of stuff that I like. I've had a couple of different like online businesses as a mom trying to find myself. And this is the kind of stuff I tell people. I'm like, you don't need a nutritionist or a registered dietitian because don't get me started with the problem with those Rockefeller systems. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we don't need them to tell us what's healthy. You need to look at ancient practices, ancient like cultures, and a lot of that comes back to like, okay, are my strawberries organic? Because they really need to be, because that's one of those ones that's like always number one on like the
Yeah,
dirty dozen.
the pesticides residue stays in there, and I will
Anything with thin
say, I mean,
skin, yeah.
I grew up on a conventional farm, so like we used all kinds of fertilizers, but we definitely used chemical fertilizers. We definitely used
Yeah.
sprays because my family was like, we want clean sweet corn, and let me tell you, if you want clean sweet corn, you got to be spraying with something or else. I mean, at that point, we didn't even have Roundup Ready sweet corn, so it wasn't even
Right.
like those things weren't even in existence back then. So you had to spray if you didn't want to have earworms and army worms.
Yeah,
You
for
kind of
sure.
didn't
And
have a way. And so,
yeah.
but with that, it's really interesting because then we assume that because we're getting clean food, like they don't have worms in it, we're assuming other things. And the truth is that oftentimes we can't test the real impact of the chemicals and the processes that we're using until 20 or 30 years down the road
Oh yeah.
because we don't know, like we can test it in a test tube, we can do field tests, but the amount of time that goes into that is too small to be able to really understand not just the impact on the individual, but the impact on the system. And I think
Yeah.
that's what we're seeing now is we're seeing we've had 20 or 30 years, well, 70s, 40, 50. Oh gosh, I'm almost 50. Okay, so almost 50 years now of being able to see what happens when these chemicals are used repeatedly, and we're understanding that it has a bigger impact than we realized. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to say we shouldn't use them all together. Like I would never again.
No, I
I
mean,
think
look,
we need lots of different skill sets and
yeah,
approaches to feed the people. We want to feed the people.
for sure.
And we want to make sure that what we're doing is the best we can. So as we learn, we need to be open to new learning and we need to be open, like you said, to your intuition. Like, and how does it make us feel? Like some of this stuff, I mean, you won't necessarily tell the difference between organic sweet corn and conventionally raised sweet corn. Like you might eat both and be like, Oh, I like the taste of both of them. My body feels the same. Might not be different. Eat a Pop Tart, eat a banana. You're going to notice that your body feels different. So
Yeah.
listen to that. Like if we start to listen to that, that can help us make choices that are healthier for us, I think.
Yeah, and my food philosophy, like personally for my family, and then what I try to, if anyone's ever interested in being educated or whatever on it, and like I said, to be clear, I don't have a single letter behind my name that makes me qualified. But you know what I am? I'm a human with a body who can read. Like, sorry, like, and now I'm a farmer, so I have a little more understanding. So my food philosophy is as many whole foods as possible because again, like a Pop Tart. And I think like a non organic strawberry is still better than a Pop Tart. You
Oh,
know what I
way
mean?
better.
You have to, but it all comes with like, but if you're eating all whole fruits and vegetables, your system will balance itself out so that your liver can process the chemicals that are in the non-organic strawberry. But it's going to get overloaded if you got Pop Tarts in there and all this other stuff too. So
Yeah.
that's like my philosophy is like whole real food, always better than processed, organic when you can. And then of course I went down the organic and GMO rabbit hole. And it's like that doesn't always mean anything. Like you can get organic strawberry that was grown hydroponically and doesn't have nutrients from the soil because they have to then add the nutrients back into the water. Like
Right.
it's removed from its
That's
God-centered
where the
nature.
processes, that's why
Yeah.
it's not just the chemicals, it's also
Yeah.
the process, which I think we've seen with fertilizers, where just adding the NPK isn't the same as adding the organic matter that comes from compost or that comes from manure
Mm.
and all of that stuff. There's more to it than just the macronutrients. And yeah, I think it's a really, and the tilth. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. We could talk about soil tilth, and
Yeah.
people do much
Yeah.
better
So
jobs of that than I do. But
I'm not super into the weeds funny about all of that yet. But that's we are so that's another thing. We were like, okay, do we want to go certified organic or do we want to just have organic practices and have the people trust us? Because I also don't care about paying the government to put their label on my stuff if my
right.
customers trust that they know what we're doing. But there's a course I found. It's a free course that's available for farmers that, explains organic regenerative soil practices, like everything. I have to find it. It's in my long list of things to do. But I knew one thing. I was like, dude, we got to stop spraying like glyphosate like right now. But we still have to spray something because for avocados, there's a certain kind of, we have I don't like the word infestation because pests are part of farming. It's just what it is, right? But we have mites right now and they don't harm the
Mhm.
fruit at all. Like avocado, you could barely harm an avocado because that shell is so hard. Like the avocado, the fruit itself is usually protected, but the mites, what they do is they get into the leaves and we have one tree, I can see it out my window here, where they get onto the leaves and then the leaves drop. And when you have full leaf drop from an avocado, they can't protect the fruit and they all get sunburnt and then you have no crop.
Yeah.
So those mites come from weeds, and we let the weeds go until we were figuring out a system, but I think they had already kind of come on the trees. But
Sure.
these are the kind of things that Kirk's mom wasn't trying to figure out. So bottom line is we still have to deal with our weed problem. Do we
Right.
have the labor, money, and whatever to pay somebody to go pick all the weeds by hand? No, it's a lot faster to go around and spray them. Did I do a bunch of research to find a whole bunch of organic? I forgot what it's called, but there's like a certification for organic stuff.
Yep.
That's like it's like an acronym. Anyway,
Right.
and I did all this research and I went and found them. And yes, it's more expensive, and we bought it, and yes, it works. So we're using that instead. But like to your point, in 20, 30 years, is it just as bad as glyphosate? I don't know. But you know what? We're only
And
doing
are
what we
there
can with the info we have.
beneficials that you can use that can come in that can help reduce the pressure, because you get different insects that'll eat other
Oh,
insects
we
and you
did.
bring them
Yeah,
in. And so
we
sometimes,
already did that too. Yes, so there's
so
preventative measures of we have to still manage the weed problem, and then we also it's persea mites. That's what it is. So there's persea mites on the tree, and then there's another kind of mite that we ordered in bags to hang on the tree to eat them.
yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's a
it's a
really interesting system.
And it's an interesting, like now being on the other side of it, because as like a crunchy mom in this like internet world of crunchy moms being like organic's bad, but it's like, yeah, but have you ever seen an infestation take over an entire crop because you have to spray it, you have to figure out the weeds, you have to protect
Yeah.
it, because it's not normal, it's not nature to have 10 acres of avocados row after row after row after row. Like that's not how it
Mm,
grows in nature. So when you
right.
do that industrial agriculture, which we've been doing for how, hundreds of years,
Yeah.
thousands,
Yeah.
there it messes with the flow of natural life, which is why, of course, I think the best thing that anyone could do is grow their own food in their backyard, which I'm also doing. I have a garden. We've got our own avocado trees here. We've got apple, we've got peach, we've got orange, like we've got
Yeah.
lime and lemon. So I think the best thing you can do is grow your own food, and then you have a diverse little backyard and less pest problems, whatever. But now that I'm looking at, it's not that simple. So you can't
No.
just get organic everything and just think that you have to look at the, I mean, we're growing food for 8 billion people at this point. Like
Yeah.
you kind of have to have the bad guys along with the good guys. Like I don't know that we could do all organic everything forever for everybody. I just don't even know if
And
it's
not everybody,
sustainable.
and not everybody is cut out to grow their own food. Like I
No, of
gotta
course
tell you,
not.
like I grew up growing my own food, and this year will be the first year in a long time that I will have had a vegetable garden because I'm looking around and I'm like, I better start growing my own food, because I'm a little concerned about where things are going, and I'd like to have a little bit more food security than I have at this particular juncture. So that's a choice that I'm making based on what I'm seeing around me. And if I have my druthers, I'm not growing my own food because I do have this standard of what it should look like. And as much as I keep telling myself I don't have to meet that standard to be growing food fine for my family, they're like, clean food. I don't want pests. I don't want loss. I don't want. Well, I gotta fight that. And there are things I do better. Like I'm a writer, I'm a teacher, I'm a podcast host. Like there are places where my
Mhm.
influence can be, I think, more beneficial because it's what I was created to do. And so like my parents were definitely made to grow food.
Mhm.
My dad loves to grow food for people. Like he just loves the fact that people will be eating his food. Like that is the thing that he loves the most. And so those are the people who should be growing our food so that those of us who do other things well can do those things. So I definitely feel like I think it's important for everybody to know what goes into growing their own food. So I think
Yeah.
growing something, raising something, even if it's a pet, like there's something to that, taking care of another living thing that isn't yourself, that is really important so that we understand to a small degree how hard it is. And I think what you were saying is so important because we do need all types of agriculture, and we need
Mhm.
it because we have all types of political systems around the world. We have all types of
Yeah.
soil around the world. We have water. We have like all of these things that are different. And so we want to make it as broad as we possibly can while taking care of the people and the land around us because those are important too. Like if you don't have healthy land, you don't have healthy people, what is the point of growing anything? Like,
Mhm.
we're kind of, so all those three things, need to be in place. So I really appreciate that. Um yeah. So whew, so many things. So I'm looking at the clock and I know that we need to get you out of here in about 10 minutes. And so
Okay.
I want to like being very conscious of your time. Um, so I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how you are marketing things right now, because you are talking about, you're going to be expanding and changing your growing practices to be
Mhm.
more productive, more cost efficient, all of that kind of stuff. And you do some really interesting marketing stuff. So talk to me about how you're marketing your avocados at this moment.
Sure. So that is like you said, like you're a creative and you have all these other things, and I'm a creative, and my husband and I have had a marketing company for, I mean, close to 10 years now. And it's small. It's like, local clients here and there, but we've had a lot of the same clients for a long time, like many years. And I learned from my husband and from YouTube how to build a website, how to do Google ads, how to do Google Analytics, like anything you could learn about digital marketing. And I'd say social media to an extent, because that's such an expansive world
It
that
is
you could
its own
spend,
thing.
you could really spend your entire career just understanding one platform, right? But anyway, that's why I try to take an approach of like being not a master of one or whatever they say. I like to be a
Jack
jack
of
of
all
all
trades.
trades. Love it. Yes.
Or
So
Jane of all trades.
Queen of all trades. I love that. So we are using this to our advantage. And my husband is he's IT. We came into this, he's had day jobs. Like he's always been an IT consultant.
Yeah.
He's an IT consultant for a wellness startup right now. We have the marketing company still. So like he's busy. That's the other thing. So we do have a Grove manager who's been managing the Grove for years. I mean, he was managing the Grove with Kirk's mom. And that doesn't mean, it's a small fee, and he's out there once or twice a month checking the irrigation lines, pruning, and then of course hiring pickers during picking season, which is now. But we're doing all of the long-term planning, all of the marketing, all the finances. So there's plenty that we're doing on that regard of like growing the business. But our goal is to be the number one direct to consumer avocado growers in the market. So there are plenty of other avocado growers who are selling direct to people. We'll get boxes, cute packages of, California avocado straight to your house, which is what we're also doing. But they don't have marketing backgrounds, they don't have business backgrounds. And so we're using that to our advantage and going, hey, I know for a fact that we can sell this on YouTube. Like people will be interested in watching our story because I'm watching other farming stories. I'm like, look at this cattle farmer. Like, look at this flower farmer in I mean, they have people are interested in getting back to nature, back to health. Like you said, even if it's a dream for them and they're at the grocery store buying their food and aren't growing theirs, it's fine. Not everyone can or should be growing their own food. But for those who are still interested in that, like, agrotourism, I got plans for that in the way future. But basically right now we're committed to putting out one video a day, and we're growing pretty consistently. I mean, pretty consistently doing it. That's the thing. Consistency works, right?
Yes.
So we're putting out one video per day, short video, and then we are trying a bunch of things. We're going to be like our boxes, it's not just avocados. We're going to have a little booklet in there. We have an avocado scoop with our logo on it. Like, thinking about marketing things like that. And then eventually we're going to have an offer that if you do an unboxing video and tag us, then we will send you your second box for free. So we're really boosting up
using those influencers out
using the
there.
influence. I mean, look, it's
can I
actually
just
hilarious.
say how weird it is to me that people make a living unboxing things? Like that
It's
is so,
marketing.
it
It's
is
the
it
same
is
as it used
so
to be. It just shifted,
it is so interesting to me. I'm like, man, if I had ever like figured that out and I could just spend
Listen,
all day like opening boxes.
the original influencers who were doing affiliate marketing were the Kardashians, and they would be on their Snapchat before we were all on Instagram, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, I love this lip gloss. Look at this color, you guys." And it was so like casual. No one knew that it was an ad, and now it's everywhere. But it's like that's just that's marketing. I
It's
mean, marketing.
expected. Yeah, I mean we expect
Yeah.
it. It's a very funny thing. It's like product placement used to be in TV shows and still is sometimes, I guess, but TV is such a different thing now too. But
Yeah, and it's the
yeah,
same vibe. It's just shifted to where it's now
very
on this
interesting.
influencer's channel instead of on your commercials. Yeah. And
Right,
so
right.
I personally, this is another crunchy mom thing, like I don't have social media on my phone right now, which is hilarious. But I've had this long battle of like just, you know, we know it's not great for us, and I would never want someone to sit there and doom scroll for hours. But if people are going to be on the internet, might as well show them something good. Like you can get organic avocados and support a small farmer. Like that's what the internet is for. Let's use it for good. Let's use it for marketing.
Yes.
And we're there for the people who want that. Not everyone's going to want to spend a little bit of the premium price, we're charging what you would buy them for at Sprouts or Whole Foods or Farmers
Yeah,
Market.
yeah,
And we're doing free shipping. So we figured out a way to do free shipping. No one else is doing that. It costs like $20 to ship. So we are the cheapest of the premium avocados that you can get shipped to your
right.
house that I found so far. And
Well, and we'll see how long that lasts. Like that's a
I
whole
mean,
nother like that
well,
shipping thing. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
we could talk about that like crazy right now because that's a
Well,
whole,
and
whole nother thing. But Keep
And the
going.
price of avocados is interesting because I mean, I guess a lot of produce might be like this, but it's like a market. It's kind of like fish. Like, what's the market price? It changes like every single week depending on what season
Right.
it is. Because when we're out of season, that's when we get most of them from Mexico because they can grow year round because of the
Right.
climate. But anyway, the point is that's our goal is to be the biggest direct to consumer. But I've also got we've got merch being made. I've got kitchenwares. I've got a blog in the works. I've got a full YouTube channel where you see all of our background, like the farm stuff. So we're kind of doing it all. We even bought the domain name of everything avocados, just so that it's like if you Google avocados, we will show up on the first page. That's kind of the
Right.
goal.
Well,
And so
that's what you
because
want, right?
yeah. And it's not only because we're farming it, but because the lifestyle of farming, and that's another thing that I love about this is the lifestyle of farming is outside, no matter how you swing it. We are outside with our boys. They're watching Kirk use tools to fix irrigation.
Yeah.
They're watching us examine the trees. They're watching us dig trenches. They're watching us pick the avocados, and
Right.
they're playing in the dirt with us. It's a lifestyle that I is so slow. And when your phone is inside and you're outside with the avocados, or often my phone is on a tripod filming what we're doing, but I forget about it, right? Because it's over there. It's
That's
not
right.
in my
Oh,
face.
I'm telling you, like I wish more farmers knew how to do that right there because it's like
Yeah.
just keep the thing filming and then, take little
Well,
clips, like
and
10
look, and
second clips.
I will take
But
advantage of the entire system. And if we get it to work, what I want to offer is YouTube for farmers, a course that we can then teach
right.
other farmers how to make income that they're not making on farming anymore. But it's like, dude, people are interested in your story. I mean, the craziest thing I saw one time is a video that was like people were like, don't get your chicken from the they're like chicken comes from the grocery store and someone was trying to explain to them where do you think it came from and they're like the grocery store and they're like they didn't want to go see chickens being processed basically and they're like
Right.
that's horrific and it's like where do you think your chicken comes
You
from
gotta,
people
that's it. If you're gonna eat them, you should know what's
you should be able
involved.
yeah
You
and I
should
don't
know
know that
what's
you should
involved at a
shouldn't have to
very
do it or watch
basic
it, but you
level.
need to be
Yep,
aware. Yeah, you need to at least be
exactly.
aware and accept that we are all part of that circle of life because I'm also a yoga teacher and I was vegan for a while too. This is a whole other conversation, but
Yeah, well, that's I'm looking and I know that you're the one who's got an appointment, so I don't want to
yep.
keep you.
Anyway, but it's the idea that the lifestyle of being in nature is a huge part of the farming too that I think we've all gotten so disconnected from nature and just eating more whole foods even from the grocery store even if you're not growing them
Yeah,
yourself, ditch the pop tarts, get some bananas, it's cheaper, it's easy. Like that's a movement that I want to get behind too. Is like
yeah,
is not just, that's why I'm going to have recipes on the website and talk about my whole food journey and how it helped my health and
yeah,
like where our food comes from and really give the people a lesson on like organic versus not because now I actually know. So
yeah. And you're
what
gonna
a
give
great
us all of
opportunity.
these links. We're gonna have all of these
Yeah,
links down in the show notes so you can follow Becca because I mean, Becca, I'm so excited to see where you
thanks.
keep going with this. And to wrap up, like
Yes.
yes, we could talk forever. But to wrap up, I'm going to ask you the question I ask all of my farm guests, and that is if you had one piece of advice that you thought every farmer should have, what would that be?
Oh my gosh, I'm such a new farmer to feel like I should be giving any advice
All
like
right.
that. um in this day and age, I would say I think you should talk about it. I think you should talk about what you're doing. I think you should put it out there somehow. I don't
Mhm.
think anybody with the health movement that we're in, with the internet awareness of people being able to do their own research and people are finding out that like I don't know, we're finding it out, but America's sick. We all know that. Whatever we've been doing isn't working. We need to get back to eating more whole foods. Just talk about it somewhere. Maybe it's locally with more
Mm,
people. Maybe you do a Substack if you're a writer. Maybe you do an Instagram if you take pictures or just
yep.
talk on video. But I think we need more farmers, people who are doing it, to to bring it to the light a little more because I
Yeah.
think there's a lot that people don't know. There's a lot that I'm learning. And I think it's really interesting. And I think it's important that people understand where the food comes from and how. And that is the beginning part of the health journey is where does the food come from? So I
Yeah.
would
Get
want
involved
farmers to
in your
talk about it
schools, in your libraries, in your community groups. Like go and offer to do a
somewhere.
talk. Like do a
Yeah.
talk if you're on YouTube, do a YouTube short or
Whatever you can
reel or
do.
yep,
Yeah.
speak somewhere.
Yeah. I love that.
I love that. Oh, Becca, thank you for this.
Thank you,
We will
Kay.
definitely have you on again because there's just
Love it.
way so
There
much
will
to
we'll
talk
do
about.
like a progress episode every 6 months or
Well,
something,
this
you
is what
know?
I keep saying. I'm like, I'm gonna have basically like 2 seasons worth of guests, and I'm just gonna keep cycling through them so we can all go back and
There
say,
you go.
hey, how was the last 2 years for you?
Love that.
So have a great day. We will be
Thank
seeing
you.
you again. Thank all of you out there, and we will see you next time on Food, Flowers, and Fun. Bye.
How do you multiply by fractions, Mom?
Farmers calling, our show is all done. Goodbye, farewell, so long, adieu. See you next week, same time, same place for Food, Flowers, and Fun. Go in peace. Visit us at www.penlightfarmers.com.